Michael, thank you so much for jumping on the call with me today. I'm excited to, talk about some of the stuff you've achieved throughout this 90-day process, and then also, obviously, kind of go in depth on how you achieve those results. I think it's really, great to talk about how you've been able to implement the strategies that we've talked about, and then kind of where it's got you. But before we dive into that, I was wondering if you could maybe just set some context for us. Before you and I started this journey together, let's revisit, where you were kind of like physically with weight, and then, how that was making you feel at the time.
I was 250, when I joined. You know, my my size was not. I was big. I was a big guy. Um, my body. It's interesting because my body felt like my skin felt like I was wearing clothes that were too tight. It gave me anxiety. And then when I would wear something, when you're wearing an XL and it's already tight, and you feel like it's tight, it I was miserable all the time. And I didn't want to bump up in clothes because that's a big expense. Buy a new wardrobe just because you're overweight. And, doing it on your own, I've tried multiple times and there's just no motivation. And, I had seen your ad. I don't know if it was an ad, it was probably somebody's success. You posting about somebody's success, and I had seen it many times, and several times I liked it. And it's like, oh well, maybe I'll think about it. Don't want to pull the trigger, and you wait, you wait, you wait, and then um, finally one of those days you reached out and you talked, and uh, that was when we started.
That was it. Yeah, I think that kind of cycle you just described, I think a lot of people will resonate with that. The idea of, I don't like my current situation. I'll think about it. I'll think about it, push it off. And then one day you've just got to kind of pull the trigger on these things
But,
because,
like I said, I tried and tried, and I told you when I started, I'd done the weight loss challenge with the whiskey group, and I had success in it. But, we're on our own. You're doing your own thing. There's no set thing. And I had success with it, but then, you finish it and then you go right back to old habits. And, here I was 2 years later, and I had put back the weight that I had lost. And so, uh, it was something needed to be done. And, you can only kick the can down the road so many times before, you need to do something. And it reached out to me, and it worked out, and the timing was right. And it just,
made sense, right? And I want to talk about the weight loss challenge stuff for a moment, just because I think that again is something that a lot of people have done. We're in whiskey groups. It seems like every January there's like a weight loss challenge, and when you have that kind of structure, it's great, right? You commit to something, there's motivation there, and the weight comes off. But because there's no underlying systems or habit change or real kind of knowledge acquisition, unfortunately, I think a lot of people go through the same thing that you went through, which is lost the weight during the challenge, and then what? And then it slowly comes back, right? And it's a really unfortunate cycle that I'm really glad that you've been able to break that cycle. And the I think Einstein's definition of insanity was to keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. And it kind of sounds like you had enough with being insane.
yeah.
Well, cool. So let's chat a little bit about what you have achieved, obviously, which is the cool bit, the bit that I love talking about. So over the course of the 90 days, I think you went from 250 down to 219, so 31 pounds, which is fantastic. Not everyone achieves that much weight that quickly, but you've been able to do it, and it hasn't felt like you were starving hungry all the time. Hunger's part of a weight loss journey, but it's how much of it, right? Is it a little bit here and there, and how do I navigate it, not starving yourself into weight loss? And the other thing that I really wanted to highlight, Michael, which is really cool, is just the waist measurement drop.
I was looking at that the other day. Just I was trying to buy a shirt, and it's like, well, do I get this size or this size? And because it was one of those where it said it was oversized, so I was like, well, I've got my numbers here. I can look and see what they are. And I went back and reviewed the beginning to now, and I think it was 7 inches, wasn't it? Or was it?
7.25 inches around the waist, which is nuts. But I mean, how does that make you feel, having lost both the weight and the inches, building some muscle along the way too? How do you feel now compared to where you were?
It's night and day difference. I'm a different person than I was. I I don't know. Carrying that extra bit around the midsection, sort of. I don't know. That's how you see yourself, and people see you that way, and then when you lose it, just you're a different person, and I feel more energetic. I don't get winded. Going to do laundry and folding laundry. It's that where uh, that's no longer a. It's just no longer a
An
burden.
issue. Yeah, I mean, I know you have a couple of young kids as well. That's got to be, uh, you know, better to be able to keep up with them as opposed to have them, run dead ragged kind of thing.
Uh, and that was another thing. We'd go outside and walk the neighborhood or kick the ball around, and Dad needs to take a break because he's winded. You know.
No more, no more. Cool. Has anyone, noticed or said anything, Michael?
Yeah, the people here that I work with, they've noticed for sure, and they say something. And I think my boss said I was pulling it or something to that effect the other day. Because stuff that I would wear before was tight, or maybe I shouldn't wear this today, but I did anyways. Now it's loose on me. So they certainly notice. They're the people I'm around every day. Um, and it's nice. It's a nice feeling to be to put in the work and to be recognized that it's working.
Yeah, very validating, I'm sure, because it is work. Let's not pretend this is some magic pill fix or voodoo
No,
diet. Like, there's work involved.
it
But
is.
at the end of the day, when you see the results from that work that you put in, and then other people see it too, it makes it feel worth it.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. So if it's cool with you, I'd love to talk about, kind of how we bridged that gap from where you were to where you are now. Was there a light bulb moment for you or something that we implemented that you felt was really key to your success?
I mean, I think it's the whole program. It's how you've designed this program that it's you know one of the things that you said early on was well, there's no. I mean, if you order a pizza and you end up eating the whole thing, it's not a bad thing. Just tomorrow make better choices, get back on the horse. There was no don't have a piece of cake. You can't eat cake. You can't eat this. You can't do that. It's not part of the vocabulary in your program. It's just, make good choices when you can. If you're in a situation where you can't, make the best of it, and start over the next day fresh. And it really worked. And even on, there's the Costco guide you have where it's like, here's products that people have used and that everybody likes, right? I mean, you don't have to get these, but it gives you a guide to go off of when you're shopping. The other day when I told you that I had finally joined Costco, it's one of the things that I look at, even when I go to the regular grocery store, is I look at the nutrition thing on the package, and if it's not meeting the requirements that's going to help me, I walk past it. And, that's a big thing, knowing what to look for, that calorie to protein ratio and higher fiber, stuff like that, that helps the body, keeps the body burning, it keeps it going, knowing what to look for is a huge thing. It's one of those things, when you read, like a Men's Health magazine or one of those, and I'd mentioned this before too, is, it's like, oh, well, if you're hungry in the afternoon, have a handful of almonds. Oh, okay, well, that sounds good, but a handful of almonds, 160 calories, like 2 grams of protein, and you're still hungry after eating that handful. whereas now it's well, if it's not, if that ratio, if I'm not getting that good ratio of protein to keep me full, to keep me energized, then I'm just going to move past it. And that's one of those things that I wouldn't have known. I would have just gone off of what the Men's Health said. A handful of almonds. Oh, okay. I'll have a salad for lunch with some chicken in it. Well, those things that sort of. I mean, I think it's in the universe of eating healthy that these are the things that you do. Uh, but they
Yeah, and
don't.
I want to like take that real quick and kind of expand on it. So, I think one of the things that people expect out of a weight loss program is eat this, don't eat this, right? They expect, okay, never foods. Like that's a big thing on a lot of programs. Like you can never have this. Whereas what we did and what you were just talking about, which I think was really cool, is you kind of set these guidelines and then you take those guidelines and you can go apply it, in the grocery store. So that
Mhm.
just like when you reach in the freezer aisle and you look at the bag and you go, oh, cool, I wouldn't expect this to kind of work within my weight loss kind of plan, but it checks this box, and this box, and in the cart it goes. Alternatively, right, you get the other side of the coin, which you just mentioned, which is okay, yeah, a handful of almonds, that sounds great. You are not getting a whole lot of food for your calories here, and you're not getting a whole lot of protein as well. And it's like, oh, okay, something I thought was healthy and going to help me lose weight actually might not help me lose weight. And I think that's the important part, right? We talked about like weight loss challenges and stuff. Like anyone can eat chicken and lettuce for, a few weeks and lose some weight. But unless that's going to be something that you can carry into the rest of your life, I don't necessarily think that's a super helpful, mechanism to make weight loss happen. So that was really cool. I appreciate you sharing that and just putting it into real terms as well. Like I think a lot of people will, take a weight loss plan and go, oh well, everything has to be healthy and everything has to be organic and it has to look like Instagram worthy and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, no, we just want to eat real food that helps us lose weight, right? We want to make it feel easy. And that's what you've done so well, so consistently. And even if there was, some pizza along the way, like you can still eat pizza and lose weight. Who knew? Which is great. So, was there anything on the exercise side of stuff, Michael, that you think was really beneficial, or was it just getting into that kind of consistent rhythm and routine?
Well, it's all of it, because when I was going to the gym before anyways, before I joined the program, but I was going and I would just get on the elliptical for 30 minutes or get on the treadmill for 30 minutes and, moderate pace, whatever, and, call it good. But there was no weights involved. And I think on Joe's video, he mentioned it too. You look over to that side of the gym, where the benches are and the free weights are, and it's intimidating. It really is because you see the bigger guys over there that are doing the big weights, and then when you get over there, it's not that. It's I mean, sure, they're doing their big weights and whatnot, but it's not. It's not intimidating once you get into it and do it. They're doing their thing, you're doing your thing. Nobody's looking at you, paying attention to what we're doing. And I think that really doing the weights, uh, that's the problem where, when you're just doing like the elliptical versus doing, yeah, you get on the treadmill and walk for 5-10 minutes to sort of warm yourself up. But then when you get over to the weights, that's where you're really doing something. And I think that's really helped, burn the fat, put muscle on. I mean, because I think I mentioned this to you. If I were doing, I mean, I think I would have burned more weight. If I weren't doing the muscle, the weight, I would probably have burned more weight. Because I'm putting on muscle. It's probably slowed down the actual weight loss.
Yeah,
Um,
it's kind of funny, right? Like you've dropped 31 pounds off of the scale, but you've added muscle to your frame. So the actual amount of fat loss is actually higher than that, which is
Definitely.
even more crazy to think about.
Well,
But
that's probably where that 7 inches from my midsection went. You know, but it, and at the same time, what I'm 4 weeks in on my 4 or 8 weeks in on my 6 month program. so there's still a long ways to go. But, when I'm doing the weights over there, it's the wall of mirrors, and you're seeing yourself, and it's like, oh well, hey, the man boobs are mostly gone, and you're doing stuff and you're sort of tightened up, and it's, oh hey, great, look at this, yeah, I'm it's working. But then at the same time, you get home, you take a shower, and you get out of the shower, and it's like you see yourself. It's like, well, yeah, there's still a long ways to go. So let's, it's motivating in two ways of the weights are working, but at the same time, you don't get a big head, and it keeps you motivated. So it's
Absolutely. I think it's cool to acknowledge success while also understanding there's still, stuff to do. Right. And I think that's an important mindset to keep throughout the whole process. If you were looking back, Michael, like way before, this program, and just I guess when we were first starting, was there anything that you were nervous about heading into the program at all?
no, when I made the choice, it was I was on board. Knowing that I needed to do something, and it's I'm a ball of clay. Tell me what I need to do to help mold me here, and so I really wasn't. I don't want to. It was the financial side that I was concerned with. Because it's an investment. Um, and that was when we discussed pricing. Uh, that was the surprise. But at the same time, if anyone's on the fence about it, worried about pricing, you were very accommodating and have been very accommodating the whole time, which made it a lot easier to join. Um, your pricing was never out there in the universe. It was kept close, and uh, I'm not well off. And so if anyone, it's one of those, if someone out there, if that's their concern, I certainly would encourage them to still talk to you, because you're very accommodating on it. And so that's definitely a point out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I appreciate that. You're absolutely right. It is an investment. And I think for anyone who hasn't invested into coaching before, it can be kind of scary because you're handing over a credit card detail and there's nothing physical that you're getting back, right? And that can be scary in today's culture of buy and immediate gratification, right? The scary thing about coaching is that the reward comes at the end of the process, not the beginning of it. So I think, when people kind of watch this and they're wondering, like, well, do I make this investment into coaching? I think it's got to feel like a good fit. And if it feels like a good fit, you're much more likely to get the return on investment that you're looking for, right? And I think that's the right way to frame it. Because if I said to you, hey, I will give you your enrollment feedback, but you have to gain 31 pounds and you have to go back into those clothes that were tight, I don't think you're taking that swap.
No.
Right? It's an investment, not a cost, and I think that's such a great way of looking at it for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
that's because you don't put it out there. When someone, the cost to some people, it's to know that that's a workable, it's a workaround solution. Something that people should know,
hmm.
if that's sort of their holdup. Uh,
Yeah, and I'm very happy to be flexible with people that are willing to put in the work, right? It's gotta be in on both sides. So if there's someone who I feel like is going to be a really good fit for the process, and is going to do really well, just like you have, then I'm more than happy to work with people to work around financial stuff. Absolutely. Well, Michael, thank you so much for jumping on this call today. It's been really fun, just kind of reliving some of your success, and then looking forward to seeing what success you have in the future. I know we've come a long way. We're not quite at the end result yet, but I know we will be in the coming months.
yeah, definitely.